Hello and welcome, girls. Today we have a very special guest with us. She's one in its kind in the entire web. While we are talking about meeting the corporate honchos, she is the one who is sitting with the heads of states and foreign secretaries and all the heads of chiefs of the armed forces. So I just wanted to have our women special by inviting someone of her caliber, and this is Dr. Manpreet Sethi. We have had her before, about a couple of years back when she spoke about her work, but in the 2 years when I read about all that she has accomplished more, I had to invite her again for our special day, which we are celebrating on the 8th of March. Welcome, Manpreet.
Thank you so much, Mandeep. It's such a pleasure to be back here. And congratulations to you for having completed 4 years of this activity. I think you've created such a wonderful community of sisterhood. And I always look forward to all the interviews that you put out.
No, thank you very much for your encouragement. Let me give all our members a little brief about, I have condensed it so that they can read the link later. So Dr. Manpreet is an exceptional Indian nuclear strategist who's an expert on the entire spectrum of nuclear issues ranging from nuclear energy, strategy, non-proliferation, disarmament, arms control, and ballistic missile defense. She has worked consistently for over last 27 years and is a credible voice on nuclear energy and doctrine, as well as the international concerns of non-proliferation and disarmament. Manpreet's intellectual output manifests in her rich expanse of writing, and you have to hear this. She has authored, edited, and co authored 9 books and 4 monographs and more than 140 papers published in books, academic journals of repute. This is kudos to you. Manpreet lectures regularly at the National Defence College, College of Defence Management, and other leading establishments of Indian Armed Forces, Police, and Foreign Services. She's won several awards and accolades, which includes 2 commendations, one from the Chief of Air Staff and one from Chief of Commander-in-Chief Strategic Forces Command, which I believe are usually never given to citizens, but they were given and bestowed to our dear Dr. Manpreet. Congratulations. And this is a very, very short précis of all your accomplishment. But I thought, let's begin with this. And I still want to, in layman terms, ask you that how do you explain when somebody asks you, what do you do?
Well, thank you so much. I think this is a good question to start with because I have difficulty explaining this even to my mother, who says that, I know you do these big things, but what exactly do you do? So, in layman's terms, I'm an international affairs analyst. So I look at international relations. And since there are many dimensions of international relations, you could look at it from climate change perspective, from economic perspective, from urban development, from agriculture. So I look at international relations from the nuclear perspective. I look at how countries interact with each other on nuclear energy cooperation and in terms of how they project nuclear weapons for deterrence. So I'm looking at the entire range of nuclear issues from energy to strategy. So it's basically why do we need electricity and why is cooperation necessary between countries and why do countries have nuclear weapons where they try to deter the use of nuclear weapons by the other side. So it's the entire range of nuclear dimension that I look at. I look at the politics of these issues. I'm not a science person. I come from a political science background, and I look at how politically the countries interact with each other on the nuclear subject.
I think that's the best answer that I've heard in a very long, long time and clears a lots of doubts that we all have about such an intellectual person like you. Manpreet, tell me something. How do you project India's soft power when you go to all these international forums globally, and sometimes you're talking about it in India as well?
So as you know, India, for its civilizational history, for its culture, its social fabric, its religious diversity, its food, its flavors, is so well known across the world. And that really has been the soft power because when we attained independence in 1947, that is what we were known for. And over a period of time, India's economic strength, its scientific and technological base, its military ability to handle threats that it faces in its neighborhood, all of that has also grown. So while sometimes I'm actually, when we are talking in international forum, I'm projecting the hard power of the country in terms of its nuclear weapons and its military capability. But I think through the cultural background that I bring in, I'm able to explain why India, because of its unique strategic culture, looks at even military capability or hard power through the soft power lens. So, it's your strategic culture. It's the way we look at use of force, which is implemented through the kind of capability that we build up. And also, as an aside, as a woman talking about these issues, I think there is a soft power dimension that also comes out, because you're bringing out the women empowerment and ability to handle issues of national security, which has largely been a male preserve all through. And I must also say that, I make it a point to try and wear Indian handloom saris, etc., on occasions like this, which is also a projection of India's soft power, even though we are dealing with hardcore issues.
Okay, this question just comes to my mind that, who gives you this mandate? I mean, the fact is that you're doing this incredible work, but the country stance changes when our leaders change, when different parties come into fray, and then you have different foreign ministers, different prime ministers. Okay, we have one now for last 3 terms, but I just wanted to say, who gives you this mandate to speak on behalf of India?
So I am really speaking as an Indian, based on the issues as I understand them. I don't have the government's mandate to be speaking on these issues. I represent a non-governmental organization, which is a think tank. So it's a think tank on national security. And based on my research, analysis, understanding of the issues that I deal with, I go and speak in my capacity. So I'm certainly representing India's point of view, but I'm not representing the government. So that's what they call the track 2 in diplomacy, where you are not government, but you are presenting the Indian point of view on various issues.
Now I understand that better. I also heard recently that you were at the Oslo when the Nobel Peace Prize and everything was being given, and you were also doing on parallelly some panel discussions. What took you there, and how was your experience?
Yeah, this was a once in a lifetime experience. This year, the Nobel Peace Prize, which is given annually, this time it was given to a Japanese grassroots organization, which is composed of people who are the survivors of atomic bombing. So they are called the Hibakshas. And these are the people who run an organization trying to raise awareness about why the nuclear weapon is a different kind of a weapon, and it has a huge impact on societies, and not just the military capability of a country. So this time the Nobel Peace Prize was given to this organization called Nihon Hidankyo. And when the Peace Prize is given, there is a Nobel Peace Prize forum that holds a panel discussion on that particular issue to raise awareness about it and to explain why this was important to be, awarded to this particular group. So as part of this year's function, that this was in December 2024, I was invited to be a part of that panel of the Nobel Peace Prize Forum, where we discussed what the nuclear risks today are and what do you do to reduce those nuclear risks. So that was the occasion for which I was there. I got to meet the Hibakshas on this, award ceremony, and also several other Nobel laureates who were there. So it was really a fantastic experience, and to be a part of this group of 10 people who were put together from across the world to talk about risk mitigation.
Sounds awesome. Anyway, congratulations on that. So the next question I have on my mind is that when we talk of nuclear energy, and there is a controversial view from a lot of people about what it is and whether India should stay invested in it. What would your answer be to that?
I think India has no option but to remain invested in nuclear energy. We have a huge electricity requirement, and how we generate electricity is impacting our lives in other ways, because it's adding to greenhouse gas emissions and causing climate change concerns. So at the moment, we are producing nearly 60% of our electricity from thermal sources, which is coal, oil, and gas. And all of these, emit greenhouse gases, which has an impact then on climate. So from the sustainability point of view, we should either be investing in renewable energy, which we are doing in a big way, but the renewable energies can only take us so far because you need what we call the base load source of electricity, which should be available to us all the time. For your banking functions, financial transactions, for hospitals, you need electricity 24/7. But renewable energy can only be available in certain times and in certain kinds of weather. So therefore, as a base load source of electricity, nuclear energy is extremely important. And therefore, we have to remain invested given the rapid economic growth that we are seeing, an aspirational society that we have, and how electricity has penetrated every aspect of our life. So electricity generation through safe, sustainable source is very important, and nuclear energy is one of them.
I remember reading it and all the things that you have accomplished, and I think I didn't mention it in the beginning that you do projects with the Department of Atomic Energy. Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, so the Department of Atomic Energy gives us projects to look at why nuclear energy is important for India's energy mix. From all the other sources that we have, why nuclear energy is still important. And since you mentioned, people have a certain perception about nuclear energy. In fact, the moment you mention the word nuclear, people, the picture that appears in your mind is of the weapon and not of the reactor. So to try and explain to them that nuclear electricity is a safe source of electricity, that's the kind of research that we do, and provide those policy inputs to the government and outreach to the public to try and make them understand why nuclear electricity is important and why there is so much effort that's going into making it a safe and a secure source of electricity. So we become like the front face of the Department of Atomic Energy for the public, and we engage in dissemination of knowledge, information through seminars, conferences, and interacting with generally, the strategic community.
That sounds awesome. That brings me closely to what we introduced you big before, and you talked about the fact and the amount of lectures that you take for the heads of the armed forces. I'm curious, what is that to share with them?
So when I speak at the war colleges, largely for high-ranking officials, it's to explain to them India's nuclear strategy.
Okay.
So why do we have weapons? Uh, how are we keeping these weapons? What kind of a doctrine have we given ourselves? And really here, India is unique because all of the other countries like to showcase their nuclear weapons for war fighting. That it's a weapon, so it's normally to be taken for war fighting. India looks at nuclear weapons from the perspective of a political instrument of deterrence. We don't want to fight a war with nuclear weapon, but we have them to stop the possibility of a nuclear war. And really for the armed forces, which have been trained in thinking about weapons as war fighting weapons, what we bring in terms of, my lectures and my interaction with them is to explain why the nuclear weapon is a different kind of a weapon, why it is not a war-fighting weapon, and therefore how it has to be treated differently.
I wanted to tell our members that some of Manpreet's books are part of the essential reading that, all the armed forces people have to do as part of their study. And that goes a long way if you know that it is part of the essential reading. Manpreet, a lot of the members that we have from the IT community and mostly from the financial services, they have children who also usually follow the same path, or they know what are the ones which they usually carry on. But we haven't had people, experts like you, whose children might want to pursue political science and international relations and go on into it. So my next question was going to be that for the younger generation who aspire to take on a career in international relations or something to do with your kind of a field, what would your advice be?
So international relations is a very interesting field to be in. In fact, I always say it's like a game of chess because you're looking at what one country does and how the other one then, makes a move to make sure that its own national interests are protected. And there is so much happening in international relations at this moment. As you know, the world order is literally being upended by the kind of new relationships that are taking place. things that we had taken as a given for such a long period of time suddenly seem to have, come open, or very much so. You see the US behaving in a certain manner under President Trump's administration, and how his own relationship with his so-called allies, whether it was NATO, whether it was UK, things are changing so fast. So this is really a very interesting space to be in. I would think that people who want to join international relations can have 3 or 4 options that they can then get into. One, of course, is the Indian Foreign Service. So you can become part of the diplomatic community of the country, and if you have a grip on international relations, you're that much better prepared for being an IFS officer. The other thing you can go into is academics. So as you need very good professors on international relations to be able to explain these issues to everyone. So academics is a very good field to get into. You could go into non-governmental activity like I do, which is in think tanks. And there really has been a proliferation of think tanks in recent times. So there are many, many kinds of these national security based organizations, which are what we do is provide policy input to the government.
That sounds really nice. Tell me something, what lies ahead? What are your plans? What are your goals? And please tell me you have some goals which are other than academic things that you end up doing.
So I think I'm in such a happy space in terms of being able to do what I enjoy the most, touch wood, yes. So I get to research and write on subjects that I most enjoy. I meet very interesting people and travel to, fantastic places to carry on these discussions. And really, COVID taught us that while we can speak to each other on the screen, it's never the same unless you really meet and share perspectives.
Yes.
So yes, so this is what happens in the coming year. I get to attend a lot more conferences, hopefully bring out my own book this time, not just something that has been edited. And besides that, of course, reconnecting more with the family, being able to participate in each other's lives and functions and important occasions that are coming up. I think all that is what is keeping me going. Travel, of course, is always the fun part of the work that I do, and it brings me personal pleasure as well.
We wish you all the very best, Dr. Manpreet Sethi, and for all your academic pursuits and all the, we're very proud fact when women represent the country. And as you rightly said, that you carry your national attire and cultural thing along with the academic and the intellect that you carry along in all the think tanks that you do. I really wish you all the very best. And please remain part of WIP and keep contributing. Please keep sending us those little snippets of the things that you do. That makes us very, very happy. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care and happy Women's Day.
Yes, happy